Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Welcome to February DPMI. It's good to see everyone. Are
All
there
right,
more
we have some folks who are
people?
joining right now. People are connecting. Let's take
Thanks for the
another
heart,
minute.
Hugo. Love it. So I'm going to wait another minute to let folks come in. And we have a packed agenda with a very cool speaker. So I think you'll be really pleased. Remember, I'm monitoring the chat. Anytime that you've got questions or comments that are immediately pertinent to the discussion, I can break in and introduce them. Otherwise, we usually wait till the last half hour. Um, but at the same time, send messages, raise your hand, whatever works for you. All right. Continue to
All right.
wait. I hope.
Welcome to everybody.
Yeah, and thanks for coming in on a gorgeous evening. We should all be out like frolicking.
Hopefully everybody has their windows open with some fresh air.
Okay.
Okay. So have a
So
couple more folks joining.
the evening is going to involve multiple updates because we've actually done quite a bit on the committees. And so you're going to get an update, especially on the data committee, but we've got a
Yep.
political education committee that we're also going to be covering. Um, But first, Elena's going to
Yep.
cover what's going on in Michigan
Yep.
and turn that over to Michelle and Robert, who will talk about the Data Ed Committee, which really has made enormous progress and how you can get involved. And then we're going to go back to Elena on the Poly Ed work that's being done and introduce one of the new testimonials that was made by one of our members and on to the guest speaker for the evening. So I'm just going to keep admitting folks and monitoring the chat. And Elena, go ahead.
All right. Thanks again for everybody coming in. Good to see some familiar faces here. Uh, as Cecilia said, we're going to do a little bit of an overview from our two committees that we formed, and we are actively recruiting more volunteers for these committees. So if you hear some of the work that we're talking about tonight and it sounds interesting, like something you'd like to participate in, there are lots of little niche spots where we'll need, folks to help out with the decrim work. Um, the first committee that I'm going to mention tonight is our Poly Ed committee, which is political education. So the focus of that committee is to assess um, political figures, political candidates, and existing elected officials to see how open they are to the idea of decriminalizing psilocybin. Um, that will help us be able to figure out the municipalities that are going to be highest on our list to target. We kind of have a short list of places which we think are going to be more open to decrim work. We're just basically looking for the path of least resistance, that this has a snowball effect to all of it. However, we need the hard evidence. So part of the process of the Poly Ed committee is going to be developing a survey that we can use for candidates and elected officials to kind of assess where they stand on these issues, and that's going to give us some really concrete evidence. So it's going to be some collection of data of organizing. Essentially, think of it like a database. We've got some great folks who are working on databases right now where we can literally enter in, okay, who are the city council members? Who are the names? Where do they stand on these topics? And like where are the most likely areas that are going to be able to do decrim the quickest? And Michelle, did you have something you wanted to say about the poly ed committee?
Oh,
Oh, I
um,
just I thought I saw you.
I mean, the only thing I would kind of stack on top of that is not only on the municipality level, but that data collection and those surveys can also be used on the statewide level as we foray back into statewide work to help us better understand where to dispel fears and give education. That's all.
That's great. Thank you. And so I guess I'd like to turn it over to Robert and Michelle to talk about our other committee, the Data Collection Committee.
Yeah, so I think I'm just gonna introduce the data collection team. We
Robert,
kind
do
of
you want to
talked.
unmute so you can join in as you like?
Yep,
Thank you.
yep, no worries.
So we talked about this in the last meeting. I think the last two meetings actually. Just briefly overviewing this very large data collection endeavor that we have jumped into. The idea here is that we are polling decriminalized municipalities and the county of Washtenaw for a certain criteria of metrics, and ultimately we're trying to show proof of concept that decriminalization doesn't harm our communities; it actually benefits us. And so we're polling institutions like the city council, fire, EMS, sheriff's office, health departments. We're running the gamut, and we're pulling a, a very broad spectrum of data, and we're going backwards in time and also with time and decriminalization. So, for instance, if, like, say, Ferndale has been decriminalized for 2 years, we're going to go back 2 years before decriminalization so we can compare and contrast that data. And then on top of that, we will have a control community for every decriminalized municipality. So, for instance, Ferndale, we would find another municipality that's similar in size, and we would pull the exact same metrics from that community that we are from the decriminalized community, so we can compare and contrast those as well. And the idea is that all of this data is something that lives within our toolkit that can then go on to help other areas decriminalize, and eventually utilize that data on a statewide level. And we did pull a really great committee together over the last month with Robert, Leanna, and Christo, and they have made tremendous headway. We're still like in the very beginning phases of this where, we're putting together the criteria of questions. Like we have a lot that we're working off of. But I will let them talk more about kind of where we are with all of that, and jump in as you need me. If you want to take over, Robert, that would be awesome.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, like Michelle said, we are in the very, very early stages of this. So last time we had met, we had just got in the plan document, and the plan was to basically sit down with it, look it over, see what things we can change, and just kind of trying to figure out how we're going to approach this. So we did do that. We met on, what was it, Monday, to kind of basically go over things that we've like noticed or any changes we might have wanted to make. But the purpose of the meeting was to basically make sure that we're all aligned and making sure that we're all moving like towards the same direction. So we did go ahead and create like a kind of like a quick project scope. Has a few milestones we need to complete along with like subtasks. But basically, our next meeting, we're hoping to basically like finalize the information. Our goal is to be able to lock in a scope. Once we lock in that scope, we know who we're going to reach out to. We'll have better timeframes, like as far as when we'll get information, and we'll just have something to basically follow. So we were able to do that. Um, we were also able to create kind of like almost like a folder. I don't know why. Um, we were able to
When
create a little like
Robert, when you shared what you were doing as far as like how you're planning on structuring this, we got
mhm.
really excited.
Very excited.
So,
Did you guys?
because it's like
Okay,
it's one thing to talk about these things conceptually, but to see what you're working on
right.
and how it's all going to be organized, it looks awesome.
Yeah, so the approach of projects I usually take is kind of working my way backwards, right? So we have like an end goal as an organization, but we also have an end goal for this data. So I needed to make sure like, okay, so like how is this data going to be used? So then we can kind of work our way backwards. So that's kind of what we're doing. When we went into creating the folder system, also I personally feel like it was necessary in order for us to even get an idea how to like move. So yeah, so I do want to show you guys a few things that we've kind of done. So I don't know if I have access to share my screen.
Uh, You
Um,
should be able to share underneath, or Chris is here so he can enable you.
let's see. It says send request.
No,
So
you
I
shouldn't.
sent one right now. But yeah, so basically what we're going to review is a quick high-level overview of the folder system that we have. I'm going to show you guys what I'm calling like a volunteer assignment tracker, which is where how we're going to track all the small subtasks. And then I'll also share with you guys a few other things that we're needing help with in case anyone feels called to join. So yeah, let me see if I have access now. Okay, yep.
Beautiful.
All right, let's see. Can everyone see my screen?
Right on.
Okay, cool. So this is how we're gonna basically structure things, right? So within the project, we have a way of storing things like data and emails, but then we also needed trackers. So we do have those two things. Um, this shared drive is basically gonna be for storage. So I'll go over it quickly with you guys. So we have project overview here. We'll have things like we have a rough draft of the plan. We're hoping once we do have one finalized, it'll go on here too. We also have institution contact information, which is something that we're going to need help with. Um, Next, we have templates. So we're going to be sending out FOIA requests. I believe that's how you say it.
Yep.
For some organizations, not everyone, but basically, here's breakdown. We got templates, we got non-FOIA, we got follow-up templates, and then I created a folder for anything miscellaneous in case we run into anything random. This folder is going to be pretty big, and again, we're going to need help with this. States, jurisdiction, and institutions. Um, this is how we're going to track the institutions based on geography. So the end goal is basically to be able to compare data, but the data is based on geography. So that's kind of how I set up the folder system. So these are all just samples. There's not much in here. I had to create these and kind of put some things in there just again so I can know how things are going to work. But we'll kind of go over one real quick. So, you will have the state, we'll have the jurisdiction. So here you'll see like Ann Arbor, but then you also see things like Jackson or Ferndale, any other places that we'll be looking into. Um, Once you go into here, then you'll see like the institutions, right? So you'll have like emergency rooms, hospitals, law enforcement, etc. So once we go into here, here will be like a sample emergency room, right? So like Jackson Town emergency room, hypothetical. Once you go into here, then here's where you get into like the data requests, right? So we have to be able to track all the requests that we're sending out to the institutions, any email correspondence, any like important emails between us and city officials and whatnot would be saved here. Any notes, miscellaneous. And then here we have like raw data, right? So once they provide us with the raw data, we'll come here and store it. Um, and yeah, so it is quite a bit. It is quite a bit of folders. However, like we're getting so much information, I kind of just thought it'd be best to like keep it organized and keep everything separated in terms of like states and cities and whatnot. Next, we have like tracking spreadsheets. So this is we're gonna have all of our trackers. Right now, I'm not gonna open this one just because I think I have it open. But this is gonna be like our volunteer assignment tracker. We'll have like our request tracker. So all the requests that we're sending to these institutions, we have to track, right? Like progress. So have they responded? Have they not? All of that. So this is where we're gonna kind of keep all of those. And I'll show you guys an example of like what the volunteer tracker looks like. And these are some of the things that we're going to need help with. As we went through the data, we found like we're going to have a lot of research, basically, like a lot of research, a lot of pulling data. So, because our next goal for our next meeting is to finalize data, We have things like research, right? So creating a list of decriminalized jurisdictions. We have to then finalize the list of decriminalized jurisdictions. We have to figure out like a date range that we're going to use. We have to figure out the control jurisdiction that we're going to use. All of that is going to involve like research. Um, some other tasks would be like finishing folder setup, right? So as you guys saw, right now I only have Ann Arbor as like an example. But once we actually get the list of jurisdictions and finalize it, we then have to go back in there and then again like create all those folders for each area. Um, so we also have like drafting templates, um, and also just creating like spreadsheets as well. So this is just a quick overview of some of the subtasks that we have. Um, Next we have like raw data. This is basically going to be once all the data is like for sure finalized, or the raw data is for sure what we're going to be using. This is kind of where we'll go for like a one-stop view. Same with clean data. Once we get the raw data and we clean it up, this is where you'll find it, analysis, and then you got any outputs or reporting. So yeah, this is kind of the structure that we came up with for now. Like I mentioned, we are going to need quite a bit of help. So I did kind of just want to reiterate what we spoke of last meeting. If anyone feels interested to step in, feel free to reach out to Chris. He'll help connect you over to me, and then we can kind of figure out, how to fit you in. And I did also want to mention, if anyone has any concerns about making like, or they feel like this is a big commitment, if you guys feel like you guys can only give like an hour, even like every other week, or just sometime here and there, like sporadically, like let me know, and I can figure out a way to kind of fit you guys into our plan. So I don't want people to think that this is going to be like a full-time commitment or like they have to like spend hours and hours on this. Whatever it is that you guys can do to help, I can figure out a way to like, incorporate your time in helping us. So we will be meeting also bi-weekly, just to kind of go over our findings. They're going to be very short meetings right now because it's going to be a lot of research. A lot of this like interaction, it can just simply be like sending emails. Our meetings are going to be very quick check-ins. Right now, we're leaning towards Wednesdays right before this meeting, maybe for like 15 or 20 minutes, just so we can kind of have everything all in one day. If there's any new data that we need to present, at least it's fresh off of our minds. So, yeah, that's kind of what we have for now. So next time that we meet, our hope is that we're going to have a finalized scope. That way we can actually sit down and start gathering the data. Once we gather the data, we can kind of, also work on the templates. My goal is to have basically, let me see, basically free scope right here. Once we freeze our scope, um, we can then kind of go into everything else, creating templates, all of that. Once templates are actually created, once we figured out things like how we're going to approach FOIA fees if they come up, things like that, we'll then actually be able to start the outreach. So I don't really want to start any outreach until our processes and procedures are fully set up and we all know how we're going to like communicate, how we're going to work. So once all of that is finalized, we can just go. We can just start sending emails and just simply tracking. Once we start doing that, I personally think a lot of things are going to go a lot quicker. The only thing I can see as maybe slowing us down is like response times. But once all of this is finalized and set up, it should be an easy execution. Um, so yeah, that's all I have. Do you guys have any like questions, or again, I'm still a little nervous, so hopefully I was able to explain things a little bit better. Or well, Um,
Yeah,
No, that
excellent
was
job.
any
great.
Yeah, can y'all hear me
yeah.
okay?
Hi, Chris.
Hey there. You can. Okay, cool. Let me hide my self view here so I can get out of my. Okay, cool. No, that was amazing. No, you're a natural. You picked your public speaking right back up. So good job. The Actually, do you mind just going up and screen sharing again
Yeah.
and just pulling that back up just so we can kind of have a reference point. Um that like yeah, like again, we're like exceeded expectations on the thoroughness, and this is really helpful because like in our our last, like with Decrim Nature Michigan, the last kind of time we took a run at this on the statewide level a few years ago, we didn't have the organization down quite in the same way. So especially like to go look back in our records and keep things organized. So, and to be able to kind of say, have we followed up with these people, or, being able to see email records and all the correspondence of the people prior, so we don't do the same work is going to be really helpful. Or so we don't repeat work. There, I'd say like kind of the one type of outreach we might do before getting everything in a row is to some of these task forces. And
Right,
we
yeah.
and yeah, we're all kind of like the nothing's concrete as far as like our approach, as far as like the questions we're asking, as far as the script just yet. A lot of this we're going to be learning as we go. And being like, okay, this, every time we call a police station, they seem to kind of have an issue with us asking this type of question. Now maybe we take a step backward and see, you know, maybe don't ask this question or ask you a different way, or maybe we have to introduce ourselves in a different way first, and then that's the key to getting this information. So some of it's going to be trial and error, as far as like no one has kind of gathered data on this scope yet. So I know a lot of other organizations we talk to are pretty excited to, like, from research to harm reduction groups, are excited for us to do this so they can use this. Um, the So some of these other task forces, like we've mentioned in other meetings, like Minnesota, they have like a Minnesota psychedelic medicine task force, and they've basically done research, pulled together studies, done research on other decriminalized municipalities. So they have like a lot of this information gathered that we're looking for, and they have it at probably a smaller scope. But one, we can reach out to them for their information, but then also to try to get some strengths and weaknesses, or pros and cons on how to approach people and how to do FOIA requests in the most efficient way, and things like that. So these teams have already done this a little bit, so we'll be able to draw on their previous work, um, and that'll be kind of its own. That's like a mix of political research. Some of these committees are like it's almost blended together. Like there's some overlap as far as like will be both committees will be using similar data to reach out to people, but they might be asking different questions. Um, so, um, Michelle, you want to go ahead with anything?
Um, I mean, I could just, kind of briefly touch again on a little bit of kind of what we're looking for. Um,
Yeah.
if if that's helpful.
We didn't ever go over that first kind of outline document as a group. You don't have to go over the whole thing at all, but kind of you can touch base on kind of the just briefly like the types of questions.
Yeah.
Um,
So I'm happy to
there's
share
there's
my,
a there's like a difference in the type of,
or if you want to
we're
share.
we're we're this week I've started, and so kind of once we get a big enough list of some of these databases, like task forces or local city councils, then we will make like a shareable document. So people from this group, even if you're not part of a committee, you can go and look at that there. Um, but that information from, like gathering city council information will be kind of a little bit different than like those will be, do you support psilocybin or are you willing to work with us, um, versus the actual like bigger numbers. So there's kind of more like, um, what's the word, like not vulnerable quite, but more like intimate set of questions and like candidate survey, and then there's like bigger data like mass data collection. So just to distinguish those two. Go ahead, sorry.
Um, Robert, will you start in the section one? I'm sorry.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So now, granted, this document is like 17 pages long, so we don't need to go through the whole thing. But just kind of a brief overview, and we did talk about this at the last meeting. But with the sheriff's department and law enforcement, things that we're really looking for here is we want to know metrics of, what did domestic abuse look like before decriminalization, and what does it look like in the same time period after decriminalization? Is there any information in that question that shows us that decriminalization and use of entheogens has benefited the community in that respect? And the same with, alcohol-related incidents, opioid-related incidents, violent crime, all of these things, right? So we're looking for incident reports. We're those types of metrics, but we're also looking at how are these municipalities reallocating their resources, because in our statutes, in our in the decriminalization language, it says no money is being put towards this. So how is that money being reallocated? And that kind of answers two questions, right? Because then we can see how that's, if that is being reallocated and how that's benefiting the community. But it also helps us hold our city officials accountable. By polling them and asking for this data, we can see if they have put resources towards any sort of investigation or criminalization of psilocybin or entheogens. So it does multiple things. Okay, outside of sheriff's departments, can we look at section 2? City council. So really, there's going to be a lot of conversation here with city managers, because they kind of have access to how the budgets run, contracts, all of that stuff. City council folk, they vote, they make decisions, they write statutes, but they're not there for the day to day. So really, the city manager and the city attorney is where we're going to do a lot of that data heavy lifting. But what we're looking for with city council members is anecdotal data, complaints, and community feedback. Because city council folk tend to talk to their constituents. They know their neighbors. They know, we know each other. So we kind of have a very broad criteria here of, questions that we're looking at. And we still need to edit and omit and condense in here, which is part of that volunteer work we're looking for. And that kind of ties into municipal budgets, which goes right into sheriff's departments, because the city council does oversee budgets of sheriff's departments. So again, pulling that, how is that money being reallocated? And then moving to hospitals and emergency services, we really want to know, is anybody coming in specifically because of something that's psilocybin or psychedelic related pre and post decriminalization? We think that will be 0, but we want to know. And so the same with like poison control calls, stuff like that. Like, did anybody call and say their dog got into some mushrooms? Like stuff like that, right? But we want to know, like, is EMS and fire being called more so than they were before decriminalization to go help somebody because of something happening with psychedelics? Let's see. Additional institutions, public health departments. We want to, pull as much public substance abuse treatment data as possible, mental health, overdose statistics. This is really probably where we'll get into some FOIA, and this data will be very broad overview. It will not be individualized because of HIPAA, obviously. And then leaning on student groups like SSDP to help pull any sort of data we have coming from the schools and universities in regards to anything we're talking about here. So this is a very, very broad overview data collection project, and it's going to take many hands and time. But once we pull all this together, I think we will prove concept that these medicines help our communities and they're healing us, and that can go a long way, not only here in our municipalities on the state level, but maybe we can help some other people in other states do the same thing. So this is a tremendous project, and I think we all owe it to the community, to prove our point, right? So yeah, that's kind of what I have to say today about that, I guess.
I
Cool.
think that's great. It also makes a lot of
Okay.
sense of why Robert's folder system is so extensive and complicated and demanding. So anybody interested, Elaine is going to take it to the
Yep.
next level with what everybody can do with testimonials, and then Chris will introduce our new guest speaker. Go ahead, Elena.
Great. Thank you, Cecilia. And thanks, Michelle and Robert. Um, going from the hard numbers, the data and the evidence, some of the things that can convince our friends, neighbors, and even our elected officials are our stories. That's something that everybody can do. Um, just actually meeting someone, talking to someone, or hearing a voice where they talk about their experience, how psilocybin and psychedelics have changed their lives is really compelling. So, one of the things that we're doing, and maybe this is something that y'all would feel comfortable with, is recording a testimonial video. I have an example of a testimonial video tonight I'd like to share with you. Let me go ahead and share that. Hopefully, you will be able to hear it as well. All right, great. Let me maximize this.
Yeah.
Okay, how's that looking, everybody?
Perfect.
Great.
Okay, great. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and press play.
Hi, my name is Damon Stalin, and mushrooms healed my brain so that I
Can you
could
turn it
finally.
up on your end?
When I was 15, I watched my 23-year-old.
Shall I restart it? It was pretty quiet.
Please do.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I think I have it at maximum volume. Apologize, guys. A little bit of troubleshooting here.
Oh, that's okay. Maybe on your PC's volume too itself.
Yeah, I'll do that. All right, I'm cranking it up both places.
Okay, let's go.
All right, there we go.
Hi, my name is Damon Stalin, and mushrooms healed my brain so that I could finally stop drinking. When I was 15, I watched my 23-year-old brother die. It had a traumatic effect on my developing brain. I learned that alcohol dulled my feelings, and it became my only coping mechanism for dealing with my negative emotions. I used alcohol like that every day, except for a few breaks, for 23 more years. My legal record is a long list of convictions, all alcohol related. When I was 16, I was convicted for the first time, and AA meetings were part of the sentence. The authority of the legal system and the successful people that I met in AA convinced me that AA was the best way to quit drinking. I gave the program my all several times throughout the years, and I could not fit their solution to my problem. I stopped looking for help. I was so certain that I would never be able to quit drinking that I went 15 years without trying to restore my driver's license. When I was 38, I felt like I was quickly approaching an alcoholic death. I heard rumors that magic mushrooms could help some people with addiction. Fortunately, recently my city had decriminalized psilocybin mushrooms, and I was able to find some. I was about 2 months sober then. Afterwards, sobriety became so much easier. I didn't need help anymore. Everything changed, and it was all because mushrooms healed my brain. I've been coming up on 2 years sober now. Since then, I lost 45 pounds, over a quarter of my weight. I have the best job I've ever had, and I should be getting my license restored this year. All this, including many other positive changes, became possible because mushrooms healed my brain. Thanks for listening.
Oh,
Yay. Thank
Yeah.
you, Damon, very much.
Thank you, Damon.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, and that's the type of like once you guys start recording it, you'll it's hard to do it under 2 minutes, honestly. It's like you usually have to pare it back. So it might be seem like a daunting task of doing this, but once you sit down and do it, it comes pretty easily. And this is the like really the most impactful type of material we can send to people. And Ann Bannister, she'll tell you she had to miss this meeting, but she's a city council woman in Ann Arbor, and she will tell you like the video testimonials were the most impactful piece of media that they got throughout our campaign. So yeah, thank you again, Damon. And Damon's he's volunteered at Entheo Fest, helping out there, and like that's there's over the next year, especially this summer as it gets warmer, we're gonna have a ton of different types of events uh, as we kind of get ourselves out there. Entheo Fest is in September, but Hash Bash is coming up in April. And as our group, as DPMI, we plan on having some tables to represent ourselves, at these events, so people can come, even if we don't have a ballot initiative we're working on, come up and sign up for our newsletter or just learn about our group. And there's just more and more types of kind of festivals, music festivals, markets that we can, put our names out there.
In the
Um,
chat, there are a couple questions. Clarify how to submit these testimonials.
oh yeah, absolutely. So if you we'll get like actually like written instructions somewhere on our website. But for now, basically record horizontally if you can. Do a horizontal um, like landscape mode. Upload it to like a Proton Drive or a Google Drive link. So it's like can be a good enough quality. Excuse me. And then you basically just email it to our email. It's supportdpmi@pm.me. And that email is at the bottom of our website, of our DCRIM website.
And then we'll
Um,
do some of our magic and put a little bar at the bottom that will have your name, and decriminalize psilocybin Michigan and other information. So wherever the testimony video circulates, kind of brings people back in.
yeah, yeah. Well, do we have a graphics person that can do all that? So don't worry about editing. Um, for so yeah, thank you guys. Thanks for your interest in that. And that again, it doesn't have to be 2 minutes, but try to keep it under 2 minutes. It can be just a minute long. Like, hey, mushrooms have done a lot for me. I'm a member of the community, and that it can be short and sweet. Um, let's
In
see.
addition to the videos, if you're not comfortable going in front of a screen, we're also looking for letters, influential letters. And that can be from wherever your perspective is. We need influential letters from all sorts of people from different backgrounds.
Yeah, letters are an amazing piece of media as well. Let me see.
Uh, that, that
Oh
just
yeah,
made me think about something for the political action for the poly ed committee that I forgot to mention earlier. Part of that data collection will be getting letters of support from politicians, namely city council members, sheriffs, so on and so forth, that support decriminalization that we can add into our toolkit to utilize in any other area that we might be working on. Sorry.
okay, cool.
Chris, if
Um,
you'd like to introduce the next speaker, it's obviously the context completely relevant.
yes, totally. Yeah, I was looking through our chat too, so we didn't miss anyone. And I will. So, Richard, also we can. So reach out to our email as well. I think actually, Richard, we got an email from you already, and I did write you back about getting in touch with Robert and then joining the data collection meeting. So I'll follow up with you again over our DCRIM email. And I'll basically you can be in touch with Robert. You can either, like he said, you can be a part of their check-ins and kind of like meet with them and regularly and kind of be involved as much as you want, or you can check in and he can assign you something like, hey, call this list of people and ask them these lists of questions, and you can, just get kind of a list of assignments for the week too. And that's for anyone that wants to be involved. You don't necessarily like when you throw your hat in the ring and say you want to be a part of this, you're not committing any amount of work or anything like that. You can just check it out, see what we're doing, see what we're talking about, and you might be like, oh, I can actually help in this way now that I know a little bit more about this. So yeah, we'll keep you up to date with that. Um, let me see, and then yes, also we'll Timothy will save some of this for the discussion at the end too, with some of these other questions as well. Um, for our guest speaker, Jim Salame is an awesome friend. I've known him since 2019, and he was on the Decriminalized Nature Ann Arbor Steering Committee with me. He's done a ton of work on marijuana legalization and entheogen decriminalization, and he is the creator of EntheoFest, actually, and he helps organize that every year. And he does a ton of work with organizing Hash Bash as well. So he'll talk a little bit about Hash Bash and his time working on decrim here.
Hey, thanks, Mark. Thanks, Chris. I really appreciate you guys. I've been so impressed with what you guys are doing and what I'm watching here, and I really appreciate all you guys' work. And it seems like you guys are so organized, and I love it, and I love the vibe and the energy. I appreciate all your work. But Hash Bash, is coming up, and the good news is we had our first meeting, or at least one that I was able to sit in on with the university last week, and they have said that they're going to approve the permit this year, which is great because there was a lot of issues with the permit last year with EntheoFest and getting that resolved, and we had to go to court for that. If you all followed that a little bit, and we won, but we won at the last minute. So it's nice to hear that the university is taking, I don't know, the side of like constitutional rights and allowing us to participate and be on campus with the student group. The student group, SAPS, Students Association for Psychedelic Studies, and the Lookout Project are the two organizations that Hashbash is working with this year. Hashbash starts at high noon on April 4th. That's a Saturday. It's always the first Saturday of April. Hashbash started in 72, for those of you not aware. And that, was started by a group that was trying to get a man who was incarcerated for selling a joint to undercover narcotic agents, John Sinclair, and they were trying to get him released from prison. And they eventually did and continued with the bash every year. I'm really honored to be a part of it, especially since we lost John Sinclair recently. And it's going to become something different, I think, now without John around. I can kind of feel it already, which is interesting. I don't know what that means necessarily, but it definitely does feel different already. We're having a new addition to Hash Bash that we came up with, and it's going to be at the Michigan League from 9:30 to 11:30 that morning on Saturday. And we're going to have a discussion on the criminology or the criminalization of drugs and how that relates to immigration, how it relates to racism, how it relates to a lot of things. And it's going to be a great panel. We've already confirmed Senator Jeff Irwin, who's a champion of the cannabis movement and of our movement as well here. So that's going to be a really cool addition. I hope to do something like this with EntheoFest as well and have a panel that maybe some of you can think about putting a panel with some questions together that you think would be interesting for the fall that would, be right in line with what we're talking about today. That would be great. And what else can I tell you about Hash Bash? There is some worry about ICE being there, but I think being in Michigan, we're kind of a 50-50 state, and I think we're going to be okay, especially since we're on campus. I think that look isn't good for anybody. If you're going to try to break anything up, there will be a police presence like there was at EntheoFest. And that was rather annoying. If anyone was there, you saw them searching people right on the diag, and they searched a baby stroller, which was incredible to see and hear about. It's their way of just kind of showing control, but we've asked them to do that far away from where our activities are. So hopefully it doesn't, taint the whole view of what we're trying to accomplish. Um, let me check my notes here. So the thing when I was talking about with Chris recently, and it's great to see see you, Chris, and what you've accomplished too with Torn and Frayed, and I just appreciate your work through and through, and your support as well with Entheofest. And we when Decrim Ann Arbor came around, we started by just getting City Council to listen to us, and the cannabis movement already had Ann Bannister, so Ann was the champion there at City Council, along with Jeff Hayner and Chris and I and some of the others. We did a fundraiser over at Lo-Fi, and we raised about $5,000. And if any of you are in a city that's got a really cool venue, and you got other business people that support this kind of thing, I really encourage you to start doing stuff like that and getting the community stuff together and just getting people. Even if only 10 people show up, the next time it'll be 20, and then the next time it'll be even more. But that's something that can really go a long way. And when you invite city council people and other leaders, and you do a real mindful thing, we raised $5,000 that time when we had that. It was nearly 6 years ago. I think it was February 20th, 2020, just before COVID hit. Um, so that was a great time. And then, I'm looking at it. Am I assuming that, right, where everyone here is kind of from other places around the state? I think I saw somebody from Traverse City and whatnot. Is that true? Yeah, that's awesome. So, I was thinking while we're all hanging out here, like, it would be great if we can all in our respective cities get like a party like that going on in some venue and stream to each other, and like have somebody do a talk at one venue and someone do another talk at another venue, and I don't know, maybe listen to the same playlist for an hour or two, and have like some sort of like parity going and connection all around the state, and even advertise it as a press thing, and get people excited about it, and maybe get the news to show up and whatnot. So I think that would be a great thing to do to even propel what we're trying to accomplish here. And if we add that dynamic, but that's something that I see some applause out there, so that's great. I would be happy to help with that and figure out how to do that because it sounds like a lot of fun. And that's the building of the community. If we could all have a place like the Plant Magic Cafe, which is in Denver. It's a home. It's one of those old homes with a big porch. It's got a nice front yard, and it's 4 levels. And the first level is a coffee shop, and the second level is an Airbnb for more revenue, so they can stay in this big house. And the third floor is where they have their offices, and at the top they do their in the attic and with the roof they do their ceremonies. And it's a really cool community space. But I really would love to see one of those in every city. Usually probably near a university where the younger folks can really take advantage of it and lead the way in the future with it. Twitch is a great online venue to stream events. Awesome. Yeah, if that's we can host DJ sets there and everyone can listen at the same time simultaneously, that would be really dope. So I as far as Entheo Fest goes, I was going to speak on that just a little bit. I mentioned, having that separate panel discussion. But I welcome everybody to participate in that, obviously, and run with it in whatever ways you can. If you can think of something to add to it, that would be great. We do stuff at the Rabbit Hole afterwards. They've been really welcoming to us. They don't charge us to be there. We're kind of grandfathered in to have a party there after the Entheo Fest, which is great. So there's a lot we can accomplish in that big space. And I'm always open to ideas and suggestions of anything to do. If you know any speakers as well that you think we should have there that you know reflect all the values and all the things that we're talking about today, and especially the folks that have been doing it for a while and in generations with their families. That would be great to have them as well always. And Yeah, if you have any questions right now, I'm open to questions if that's what we do now. I don't really know.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, we can kind of transition into our like discussion slash Q&A since we're like just about there anyways. And I definitely have some questions for you, just some more open-ended questions. If anyone else has any shorter questions too, go ahead. I'm sure some will come up too as we go on here. The can you speak a little bit on your time kind of working on decrim and Chuck mentioned it a little bit, but kind of the difference between what you like encountered with working on decriminalizing entheogens in Ann Arbor and then legalizing marijuana, and if there were like any differences or any like like strategies that worked for one but not the other. And then yeah, also with EntheoFest. Well, yeah, I'll save that one actually.
Okay. Yeah, the way we did it, you know, it was easier to do mushrooms because of cannabis. Cannabis kind of led the way. And like I said, Ann Bannister was helping us in the cannabis realm, and then she moved right into the, entheogen and mushroom realm. And I think that without cannabis, it would have been a lot harder. Things that we did that made it easier is, you know, we I contacted all the city council people, and I put things in their letterbox. I don't know if any of them read anything. I tried to find constituents in the districts of city council people that opposed, our cause, and got them to reach out because they were in support of it. And that's really the game changer for a city council person, is to receive, that sort of education about, psilocybin from a constituent, because that's who's voting for them and who's giving them money in some respects. And yeah, and then, reaching out to the other people and mayors or other people in leadership, that are, whether it be in hospitals or in, shelters or wherever, where people can speak on this stuff as an advocate. Um, and sharing with them, if you're trying to convey, that some of the scientific research, make sure that scientific research comes from a reputable news source. Make sure it has, it's not from like I love to trip on mushrooms, or whatever .com. Like, make it from like a reputable scientific journal or whatnot. And other things we did is, I think it's just a matter of speaking up and talking with your family and talking with your friends. Because if people, if it starts to become a conversation, or at least somebody brings it up, there's got to be, you always have to stand up for this no matter what. I mean, it's imperative, no matter who's there. And then, no filter, basically. Just I really believe that that's what we have to do with people, because people want to believe what they want to believe nowadays, even with facts, obviously. And it's important that you get a little louder, I think, not louder, but just more, with more conviction, about what trying to get through their heads because of the stubbornness, perhaps. Um, and there's a lot of, great things that we can always point to, especially with how this aids people with depression, people with PTSD. These are the things that people can be compassionate about. And if they can't be, then I don't know. There's a lot of people that can't be compassionate, and that's, you know, we still got to keep trying though. Did that answer your question, Chris?
Totally. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I'm of the same mindset too. Is like it you got to make it just conversational. Now it's everywhere, everywhere in the news, celebrities are talking about, they're talking about it in sports. And so it's much easier to bring it up and have someone have encountered it already. Um, and and yeah, like kind of like also everyone is just like one thought process away from changing their mind or changing their heart. And Chuck Ream, he kind of would quote this as on all of his marijuana campaigns, but you like we can't we're focused on changing minds. We have to change hearts. And it's much easier to change someone. You can like argue back and forth all day like on logic. And once you kind of reach a certain point, it becomes like a sport or it becomes like a feeling people are trying to chase. And so it really like speaking to someone's heart, and that goes to like your point of mental health and PTSD and trauma and addiction and things that affect everyone in our society these days. And so yeah, like this, like we've said before, this we're gonna have some strange bedfellows as we get to higher places and work with people of more influence. And it's going to take combining both people on both sides of the aisle and all types of schools of thought for the sake of healing and bringing people together in the name of building our communities and not tearing each other apart. Not you know so many people have already been divided and conquered, and like that's kind of the agenda from the top is kind of the name of the game for the last even 10 years. It's divide and conquer, and it's like I've even been divided and conquered in some ways, like when it comes to conversations with my family and such. So I'm still trying to find ways to navigate. We might agree on 99% of things, but there's this one thing where I draw a line, they draw a line. And it's like, how do you reconnect with people when, the stakes are getting higher and just, uh, you know, society's getting worse and these problems, like society's problems are really just like in our face. It's really hard to just ignore them now. You have to be really, really, really well off living in your own bubble to be ignoring them. And then that usually comes with a host of turning off a part of your brain and cutting off your family members too. So there's like the people that are like living in blissful ignorance. There's like that's like it's hard to do that now. So people are really there. People want to make change. They want to have somewhere to show up and make change and have a community. And like Jim, you're kind of the mindset that we need to like build communities and not necessarily just like when ice comes knocking. There's people that are doing that are stepping up to the challenge and fighting back and building a community and strategizing and looking after each other. But I feel like we've been missing that, and just for any circumstance. So when something happens in our village and we have a call to for people to join together, then those communities are already built and we're just ready to go.
Exactly. Yeah,
So
we were talking about that the other day.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I thought that was a just an awesome mindset, and that's where I love like you're building your own thing here, trying to build a community space, trying to work on Hash Bash, trying to work on EntheoFest, and so you have like this, you're like working right alongside of us and have the same goals and same outlook, and so we're and finally making the connection. So as far as
Yeah.
like yeah, like touching roots again. So I appreciate that there's so many people that have the same kind of growth community mindset. And now it's just about like lighting the torches and being like, yeah, we're all here.
Yeah.
So, and kind of like, Hash Bash and EntheoFest have been this place, but then have been these community spaces, but then making, like these smaller spaces like you said like a night where we can all gather in our smaller areas but then make it bigger by including towns all over the state and cities all over the state. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
And I think like now like EntheoFest, it started in Hash Bash. They started as free speech events, and that was really like the spirit of it. It's like Hash Bash was they're telling us no, we can't show up, and we're still going to in the name of free speech, and because we believe in this, not because there's like a profit to be had or there's like a video to be made. So it's like really about making change and showing up and doing that. So that's what EntheoFest is too. And like when EntheoFest got challenged in court, some of the spirit got a little bit lost because there was a heavier police presence. People weren't allowed to walk around and sell stuff as much, and so people got a little bit upset. But there's like the spirit of that is free speech. It's like we're showing up. It's not to make money necessarily, or to. It's like you can say selling that stuff is a form of free speech, but regardless, like uh, the point of that is to say we're here, we're able to do this, we support this because this is good for our community, and kind of the like the with U of M wanting to shut it down, and like kind of the whole I don't know, the whole point we're allowed to offered these to each other in the first place is because these are decriminalized and because we stood up and said that we should be allowed to do this. So that part of it should be like preserved first and foremost. And hash bash has kind of turned into a little bit of it's been become commercialized over the years, which for
Yes, no doubt. Yeah.
for better and for worse, it's allowed it to grow exponentially and become massive, and
I think that
attractive.
happened, Chris, when legalization actually came. Once legalization came, it turned kind of corporate because now you have corporations in the cannabis business, and now it's even gone beyond that where you're getting corporate sponsors that aren't even in the cannabis industry. So it's definitely, and I was a part of Hash Bash probably more so the up until about 2, 3 years ago. Um, as far as being able to manage a lot of it. So we've got a lot of other people that are doing it now, and there's a lot of groups that have good causes that are behind it, like expungement groups that like Great Lakes Expungement Network and Sons and Daughters and things like that that are helping people that have been affected by the war on drugs. So
Yeah, okay, that's cool. Yeah, that's the kind of the yeah, the hash bash that started is a free speech event too. So that's kind of what we're I don't know, the like I appreciate your like want or like you seeing the need to kind of bring other psychedelic medicines into the hash bash space as well. And kind of giving those people a voice.
yeah, definitely. If there are any nonprofits here that want to participate in Hash Bash on April 4th, please let me know. Reach out to me. We'll get you on the diag. You can have a table. There's no cost. Just show up with your chairs and your table and your forms. You can't sell anything on campus whatsoever, even a pen, but you can get stuff away.
Okay, cool. Anyone have any questions as well about anything we've for Jim or anyone we've talked about or anything we've talked about today?
Jim, do you have any perspective because you've been in this space for so long and you've been in it with cannabis and decriminalization of entheogens, you've seen kind of these statewide movements happen with ballot initiatives, Mish, things like this. Like, do you have any perspective for where you think the downfalls have been that maybe like we can counterbalance those issues, right? Does that make sense?
It makes sense. Yeah, it does. I think things that can derail certain causes like that have to do with probably, a lack of focus, a lack of leadership, basically. And, if you have the right leadership, then people hopefully will be focused. Um, and if everyone can be a leader in their own way, and then just meet on an agreed upon terms, then that helps move, these causes forward. There's a lot of groups that come up, like in the cannabis, fight to get it legalized. There were a lot of groups and different lobbyist groups, and everyone was like slinging shit at each other because everybody wanted to be at the front and everybody wanted to be driving, and making the decisions, or at least looking like they were. And I can't say everybody. There are some people that just want to work in the background and get things done, and there are some people that will talk more and want to be out in front. I don't. There's always egos involved, and that's something that you would think in the psychedelic movement it would be in check a little bit more than the cannabis movement, but it's not, unfortunately, because the ego is a strong thing. Um, but I think if you get people to agree to put down their egos and understand that there's that one apex, there's that one spot we're all going for. No matter where you're going. It's like different religions all lead up to, one creator or whatever. Um, it's kind of the same way to approach it because everybody wants decriminalization. Everybody wants to be able to do this without worry of incarceration. So it's, it seems really easy, but things get lost and then people lose their motivation. And then somebody thinks they're doing too more than somebody else. And then somebody like gets mad and then it just keeps on that has a tendency to snowball. So that leads to another issue, communication and being able to communicate and understand like when people have it too hard. Like who was saying it earlier? Was it Robert maybe? Talking about how if you're too busy, tell me. I don't overextend yourself and that kind of stuff. And people feeling like it's all on them because nobody owns it. Nobody owns it and everyone's working for it. So it's you just got to keep going forward. But I would say communication and I think egos and keeping them in check and yeah, so communication wise, like there are different groups. Like there's Leaps, there's the group here in Ann Arbor. There's more coming up, I think, there's people in Detroit as well. It would be cool to get each of the leaders from these groups on a call like at least once a month to at least a couple reps from each group to come in and talk about what's going on, what they see. And people read, because sometimes you can learn a lot about, what else is going on. Maybe they've heard from the same people, or maybe there's that communication just keeps that flowing and the growing.
Are you volunteering to moderate that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, let's put the groups together and figure it out, and then maybe there can be like a monthly meeting, if people are open to jumping the table together like that, and they should be. If they're not, then no, I'll be telling.
Hmm.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, if you know of any groups too. Also, I did finally get a hold of Nate from Lansing. To everyone in the meeting, we've been talking about the myth and the legend for the last couple months. No, just we like just finally able to track him down. So thank you for Jim for that information. So I reached out to him. So yeah, like the head, we know that there's some groups like in Grand Rapids, it's called Grand Rising, and like we've reached out to them and just have not heard back from people. So if you know people, we always kind of say if anyone knows any other nonprofits or harm reduction groups that want to, either be involved at a bigger level or have a voice, have their voice be louder. We want to work with all types of groups and especially the ones that are already existing too, like in Detroit and such. So some of them are groups that we kind of like know the people. They have other goals in mind. They might be less working towards decriminalization now and might be having more of a for-profit thing they're trying to do, or in some of the areas that it's been decriminalized already, that can be the case. So there's like also now that we have a little bit more materials, like we're kind of still building our material database, so we have something to kind of say like, hey, we're this group now. So up until a few weeks ago we're still kind of working on those. So now we feel like we're ready to introduce ourselves more, in a more public way as well, with like our digital deck, our interactive map, our website is pretty filled out. And so yeah, now we're ready to go out there and kind of make more connections, as well. So um, we'll keep building those. Um, and like yeah, now it's a matter of like sitting down this week and starting to go through this. Like again, if you guys are interested in working with Robert and us, and we're all kind of a part of that, but he's really managing it. Um, then we're gonna get the ball rolling pretty quick here in the next couple weeks, as far as like it's just a matter of sitting down and starting to like make phone calls and starting to reach out to these people, especially once we have some of our templates designed. But the next few meetings will have more updates as far as that goes, as far as like kind of making this incremental progress. And then with reaching out to these cities, we'll be able to have a better idea of who we're going to really focus on targeting, which groups are, which groups do we want to work with side by side? Which groups do we want to, which areas do we want to start a new group? Do they just need a whole new group in? Like, does Grand Rapids have enough people where they want to kind of do what we're doing and get our help with what they're doing? Or do they want to, or do we just need to start a new group there too? It can be the question. Um, Let me see. Um, Yeah, Jim, I really appreciate your perspective. Just with everything, we're really happy that you showed up and shared your experience, and we're
Honor to do it. Thank
definitely
you. Pleasure.
we're like speaking for myself, but then as a group also, we're like we would all, I'm sure, to some extent love to assist. Like the kind of the leadership here for sure, but then a lot of the other volunteers here would love to help you in your ventures. And with Hash Bash, I know a number of people here would definitely want to volunteer, and at least like we'll Jim, if you can even put your email or your contact,
I'm doing it right
um,
now. Yeah.
and just if anyone wants to get a hold of Jim for any reason, whether it's Hash Bash sponsorship, volunteering, NTO Fest information, just any community information. Um, but yeah, I know that we'll be also seeing you at a DPMI table at Hash Bash, um,
Definitely.
and yeah, and things of that nature. And I think NTO Fest, we will be talking about that more as that gets closer, like after Hash Bash, that gets more, there's a little bit more time and energy to put planning into that. But NTO Fest, because of its uncertainty the last couple of years, it's been kind of slow to get momentum, or it's been a bit of a slow buildup. So this year, I think we have the potential to make it like absolutely epic and make it like a multi-state, where people come from kind of everywhere. People do come from everywhere, even when it was uncertain with court. So I think, yeah, that can be something really cool as far as the types of people that show up to speak and the types of groups that show up to kind of help educate people.
Yeah. Awesome. Help a
Um,
girl.
yeah, yeah. And your also just your insight on groups like working together is also a huge uh I'm sure we'll draw on your knowledge of that as well, like going forward too, just because you kind of forget all the different pitfalls. Like this in this space, you assume that people are going to be want to build as many bridges as possible, or that people have been touched by psychedelics, but a lot of people see it as just the next gold rush. Or they understand that people are easygoing in this space, so then they want to take advantage of them. And they realize that, oh, people are going to maybe be pushovers to an extent, or have a like let's build mindset to the point that they leave themselves open to be taken advantage of. So, but I think, like you said, like very open communication, transparent communication, databases where we're showing each other our emails and stuff like that is an awesome start to kind of, and we have like a transparent system out with our leadership here too, where we have an open email system, where, yeah, I think that's like, so you kind of don't start to use these positions as like or you don't try to use your position as a position of power where it's, serving you and not the greater good,
Hmm.
uh, is
Yeah. There
really
you go. Yeah.
is really important. And it's really hard to do, especially you get in the room with some of these bigger corporations, like you're saying, and they're writing big checks. It's you gotta hold on to your soul with both
Yeah.
hands. um, so yeah, the well, okay. I want to get to like we if anyone has any like questions, Jim, do you have anything else to say too, just
I
to really
don't.
wrap it up, and we
No, I
can
don't. Thanks,
do a
Chris.
couple
I
more.
appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for the questions and for their time. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. And like you're welcome to come back anytime if you want to even, come back before Hash Bash once more too and give us another update. If there's something worthy to talk about too, then by all means.
I
Um,
filled out my survey today, so I
oh,
sent that in to
awesome.
you guys. So I put what I
Okay,
interested
awesome.
in. So,
Thank you. Seriously. That's yeah, looking forward to doing way more with you. Um, the okay, does anyone have any general questions to
Actually,
start
I
off?
sent I sent Michelle a question based on what Jim said involving time and ego, because those two barriers. Remember the first time we met, I said, do not burn out, do not get burned out. It's my major concern. Um, Ego, for sure. Some of the templates that we're creating are so useful, and I thought maybe Michelle might want to jump in. And I know she also wanted to talk a little bit about Ellie and the conversation she recently had.
Oh, yeah.
Michelle,
Oh,
you're on
here.
mute.
Caught her up. Caught her unsurprised.
Okay, sorry. So I just wanted to reiterate what Chris brought up last week with the call to convention coming up in April. That's April 19th in Detroit. That is where you place your vote for candidates, very specifically Attorney General. And so the two candidates that we have running right now, Ellie Savitt and oh, what is her name?
Karen McDonald.
Thank you. Yeah. Um, if that's something that you feel called to do, you do have to register with the Democratic Party by March 20th. And I just want to reiterate how helpful and amazing and important it is to be able to have the Attorney General sign a letter in support of decriminalization as you go to decriminalize your municipalities. So if you feel called to, show up and place that vote, we would love to see Ellie on the ballot, and that would be a boon for all of us, and it would be a boon for the state. And he's doing some really great stuff on the federal level as far as ICE is concerned. So just something to think about. And then I can screen share a template that Leanna put together, just so you can kind of see, like, here's a very simple thing that could happen in data collection. If you do have an hour a week and you have time to just send a couple templates, it's as easy as taking this template, putting in the pertinent information, sending it off, and then getting it back to Robert and the team. So just kind of a visual perspective of that for everybody. So let me share my screen real quick. And this is just in a very basic Word format right now. We will get it, on a proper letterhead, so on and so forth, and it'll, look formatted and fantastic. But just so you can kind of see, we will have templates like this for data collection, also for polling your city, getting conversations started with your city council as far as decriminalization goes. This is all part of the toolkits that we're putting together, but this specifically goes to the data collection, where you just have to fill in the necessary information, send it off, and like I said, get back with Robert, get that information. That's so helpful. Just the many hands doing lots of the tiny things that we need to pull all this information together is so, so incredibly helpful. And I think one of the things that we might find that is maybe a little harder than anticipated, I think, is finding those control municipalities, and figuring out like what those are going to be, because we need a parallel for every single municipality and the one county that we're going to be polling. So yeah, that's what I got.
Sweet. Thank you. That and yeah, it is as easy as that. Once we kind of come up with these templates, the work on y'all's end is just to kind of make that contact. So don't worry about needing to get creative like this on your own either. So a lot kind of can kind of meme out the work, and a lot can be done on like a macro level once we kind of get these put together. Okay.
The other thing
Anything?
I would say is if you have to bite your tongue to join the Democratic Party, you can also leave after you place your vote. Just saying. Just saying.
Yeah, that's very true. You can vote on April 19th, and then say see ya after that
Mhm.
too, if you want to go back in hiding. That is no issue. That's actually brilliant. Thank you for noting that, Michelle. We should make a
Yes.
note of that every time.
Yeah, we don't have to
Um,
stay.
yeah. The okay, did that cover Cecilia's? Okay.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, cool.
It's an amazing template.
This is yeah, again, exceeding expectations. And yeah, we didn't even mention that Mike McFall had to reschedule. That we didn't mean to just pull a switcheroo with Jim here. Jim was scheduled to be here, and then at the last second, Mike rescheduled to sometime in March. So we'll either see him March 4th or March 18th. So yeah, he had a dinner he had to attend. The also to Timothy mentioned the Netherlands making psilocybin illegal, and that's incredibly shocking and disappointing. And uh, I'm curious if they have other entheogens that are still decriminalized there or that are still looked over. If like they still allow like mescaline or whatever else is allowed there. I don't know, but that's yeah, that's kind of a shocking development, I guess. Um,
Timothy, do you happen to have an article or something that you could throw in the chat that we, like anybody who wants to read up on that can? I mean, obviously we can Google and figure it out ourselves, but I didn't know if you maybe had some sort of reference to what you're talking about.
I would have to look it
yeah,
up
oh yeah,
because
this is
years ago.
oh, it's not letting me.
Yeah, Timothy, we can hear you.
You can hear me? Okay, good.
Yes. You're
Yeah.
very quiet, but we can hear you.
Oh, it was about a month ago that I saw a YouTube video about it. It actually spent some time interviewing a couple of guys who had switched into cultivating and selling truffles. But those were apparently still legal, but the mushrooms themselves were not anymore. So I'd have to do some digging, but I'll do that and I'll try to send you the link as soon as I can find it.
Thank you.
Sorry, I could only hear the first bit of that.
He's
I
going to do some research into it to try to find the link to get more information and send it to
Okay,
us.
cool. Okay.
I feel like those things are just as important as this data collection because that's the thing that a politician is going to throw into the mix and say, but what about what happened in the Netherlands? And if we can answer that question as soon as they ask it, so that's
Yeah,
awesome. Thanks, Timothy.
actually, yeah, that's brilliant from both of you. That's like extremely important to be able to nip that in the bud. Hugo, thank you as well for sending the. Uh, this is like an entire. It's like an entire agenda of the day for the Democratic convention. So yeah, if you yeah, it gives you instructions on how to register and all that there too. We'll put this on our website as well. Okay, y'all. I think that might be it then. We can
Damon, your video was unbelievable. It was in the
yes.
chat thanking us.
Yes, thanks again, Damon. Yeah, anyone that wants to do a video testimonial, please do again. And if you don't want it shared here too, you can also say that you can have it only used in certain times and places if you'd like. But onward to the next one here. If anyone else, any closing thoughts? Okay, Elena, Cecilia, Michelle, thank you, y'all. Thank you, Jim, so much. Appreciate you again. Thank you,
Yeah.
everyone, for showing up again and making it a full meeting. And we will see y'all at the very beginning of March. Thank you again, and we'll reach out to a couple of y'all about the committee and about getting in touch with Robert and such.
And if
Cool.
there's anything that you want to have added to next agenda, just reach out to us by email and let us know.
Absolutely.
Yep, if
Thank
you've
you,
got something cool
everybody.
you want to present and share with us, we'd love to hear it.
Yes, please. Yeah, these agendas are open-ended too, so we've got a kind of a game plan that we want to follow, but we like kind of want to expand this and give other people a chance to talk to and introduce themselves once in a while too. So, cool, y'all. Thank you so much, everyone. Peace. We'll see y'all in a couple weeks.